Michael, you've just completed 3 years as our senior commercial officer in Tel Aviv, Israel. Can you tell us what changes you've seen from the time you arrived until the time you left just a few days ago?
Unfortunately, when I arrived, it was the 1 year into the current intifada, so the security situation has calmed in recent years, but it's still there. And it was also about the same time I arrived was when the high-tech bubble burst. So that had an impact on the Israeli economy because it is such a high-tech economy and it's tied to the global high-tech industry. But starting in 2003, a recovery occurred in the Israeli economy, pretty much the same way as it has a high-tech economy throughout the world. And growth in Israel is projected in 2004. I think actual growth was about 4%. And this growth is expected to continue this year. So as far as changes are concerned, the security situation is more or less under control. It's calm as much as I can say that. There's tensions are still there, of course, and the problems still are there. But as far as business is concerned, the economy is growing at a significant pace, and the business opportunities are good.
Given the violent images on the mass media that we have seen coming from Israel and the region, why would any American small company want to do business there?
Well, the first thing I would say is that the images that you see are really, it's not to diminish the tragedy for individuals when something like that occurs, but it's an unfortunate image of Israel that most Americans get, because it is not the case. I lived there for 3 years until just recently, until last week, as a matter of fact. And we felt very safe living there. Business people from both Europe and the U.S., from all over the world, come to Israel on a daily basis. You fly into Ben Gurion Airport, you go about your business meetings, you travel. It's you're in a developed economy. You could be in Europe, and you don't really see much in the way of any kind of impact or any sort of effect, influence from the security situation. That being said, the U.S. government suggests very strongly that Americans do not travel to Gaza, and that U.S. Officials are not permitted to go to Gaza, and only go to the West Bank under certain circumstances with the proper procedures.
Have you seen any changes in terms of the number of U.S. companies coming and the type of companies in the 3 years that you've been there? There
are great opportunities in Israel. It's interesting that for a relatively small country of only 6.8 million people, it is our 19th largest export market. In 2004, we exported $9.2 billion worth of goods to Israel, which is quite a significant number. And total bilateral trade between Israel and the U.S. is over $23 billion. Why do it? There's great opportunity. For experienced exporters who haven't done business in the Middle East, it's a good place to start doing business in the Middle East. Israelis speak English, both the government and business. Practically every business official or business person of any note speaks English quite well. The business environment is pretty much similar to the American environment. The same kind of rules are observed. Israelis are very familiar with Americans, with American products. They like American products. The average Israeli consumer is keen on buying American goods. And Israelis have cultural and family ties to the U.S. They travel here. I think last year something like 400,000 Israelis traveled to the U.S., and for a small country that's a lot. They also study here. We have about 3,500 Israelis in American universities every year. And so the ties are great. And for an American company, if you're already exporting to Europe, for example, it's a logical next market. Where can American small and medium-sized enterprises find opportunities in Israel? There's such a wide range. It's hard for me to give you. I wouldn't say there's any change. I think the kinds of companies that take advantage of opportunities there do so because they perhaps have had, I think most companies who are entering new markets perhaps have made a sale, and then they say there might be something there, let's follow up, or they see some of our reporting that we've done about opportunities. We obviously report trade leads, and particularly in the infrastructure area. There's a lot of infrastructure development going on in the natural gas power generation, electrical power generation equipment, and some other good sectors. Medical equipment's another good sector. So we report on opportunities, and sometimes we'll have U.S. companies simply respond to those opportunities, and then they realize that it's a market they hadn't considered before, but there's opportunities, and they pursue it.
Many Americans don't know that there is a free trade agreement between the United States and Israel. What does that agreement mean for U.S. businesses?
It's interesting because this year was the U.S. and Israel are celebrating the 20th anniversary of that free trade agreement. It's quite a remarkable. It was one of the very first ones that we did, and it means simply that American companies don't have to worry about paying tariffs, and it's a free market, and it's important. Now, there are export certification documentation requirements that people need to be aware about, but that information is available on the websites as well. But there is as a matter of fact, later in December of this year, there is a big event planned in Tel Aviv to commemorate the 20th anniversary, and we would hope the U.S. companies would take advantage and come, and we'll arrange appointments for them with Israeli companies, and we're working with the American Chamber of Commerce in Israel.
Are there any non-tariff barriers that exist in Israel, and if so, what are they?
Well, there are some barriers to trade, but it depends on the product. There are some standards issues that we sometimes have to take a look at, and we work with the U.S. companies, and we work with the government of Israel to overcome standards issues when they arise. So I would ask any U.S. company that's encountering any kind of a tariff or non-tariff trade barrier to approach us and let us know what the problem is, and we might be able to help them.
You also cover the Palestinian territories. What are the risks and opportunities of doing business there?
Well, I have to say that there are limited opportunities. It's very unfortunate that the GDP in the territories in the Palestinian areas has declined through the years of the Intifada. It's very difficult for Palestinian businesses to move their goods because of the situation and the controls in the territories. The opportunities do exist. And we have helped American companies sell things ranging from medical equipment to hardwoods. There's a furniture industry, particularly in Bethlehem in the southern part of the West Bank. We have there's a great interest in the Palestinian markets in American furniture, domestic furniture, and maybe the best market for American products is in the processed food and food equipment sectors. And we have regularly do product displays and catalog shows in the Palestinian areas, and also I might add that we also when we're helping American companies enter the Palestinian territories, we combine the Arab-Israeli market in that, and so it's a bigger market that we're dealing with. There really is the Arab-Israeli population is out of 6.8 million people in Israel. 1 million of them are actually Arabs. And it's pretty much a different economy, and so we sort of lump together, if you will, for marketing purposes. And when we have an American company that we're helping them introduce them to the market, we do both markets at once. And also, I would add that educational services is another very important market, both in Israel and West Bank, Gaza, and throughout the region, globally, if you will. It is something we've spent a lot of time on, and with a lot of success. As part of our Access Eastern Mediterranean program, we are focusing also on educational services. And to come back to your point about your question about the Palestinian markets, there's a lot of Palestinians who come and study in the U.S., but it's a competitive market. The Europeans are attracting students from these same regions, and they're competing for these students. And so we are helping American foreign student recruiters to sell their schools, sell their programs in the region.
A lot of U.S. businesses are apprehensive and resistant to doing business in the Middle East. Is there a counter-argument to the case that Americans shouldn't do there, that it's too risky, too dangerous?
Well, I would have to say that at the moment, it is not really